Hey guys, welcome in. Unpaved. Looking forward in just a couple minutes. Mark Schlereth, longtime NFL player, Pro Bowl guard. Obviously, heck, when you have him on and when I introduce him here in just a few minutes, the resume and the introduction may take longer than the damn interview. He's posted a lot at every stage of his career and his life. He's moved the needle in a great human being. Great to have him on because you will get it. Unlike you sometimes get in radio when you got the FCC rules, not on podcasts. We'll get to him shortly. And while we wait, first off, trade deadline rolling, Major League Baseball. Rob Dibble will join us tomorrow. One of the nasty boys, knows what a World Series is all about and what it takes to get there. Some of the guys, so Dibs will join us talking about post-trade deadline stuff as well as who he likes in the second half of this baseball season. And the marathon now is turned into like an 800-meter race. The sprint's coming right around the corner, but you're legging it out now. And the trade deadline, you can see some teams really believe they got a chance. Look at I mean, and rightfully so. Seattle's gone out and got Naylor and then got Gino Suarez. So a lot of power. You add Suarez into a lineup that's already filled with Cal Raleigh. That's a lot of balls flying out of the park. And the weakness for the Mariners this year, at least perceived going in, was pitching staff 1 through 5, damn good, really good. World Series type, but hitting, could they keep up? Well, Rosarena's knocking the ball out of the ballpark, and we see what they've got with Raleigh, and now you add some pop with Naylor, and now you get Gino Suarez, who's been there before. A little tougher to hit it out of the ballpark there, but he can probably hit it out of Yellowstone. You see Paddock's now in Detroit. They're not slowing down. They may be the team to beat in the American League with that pitching staff and Skubal. Toronto, adding Shane Bieber. And you start to look around at some of the moves. Mason Miller now is a San Diego Padre, throwing at about 115 miles an hour. And they gave up some pretty important prospects, did the Padres, to get him. And then there's the Dylan Cease who's lingering out there. And there's a lot of other moves. We'll hit as many of them as we can after when Rob Dibble joins us tomorrow. A lot of football talk and a lot of life talk today with Mark Schlereth, who I just love because I go by unfiltered, but he's about as thorough as it'll get, and he'll give you all. I mean, he'll always interact with fans, which I love too, but he'll also get in your grill, which I love too. When people have the wrong information on social media, one of my favorite dudes. But the trade deadline is flowing, and we will roll in with that. I'm sure we'll get some comments in the next few days or next week when JB comes back in, because Rob Dibble tomorrow is what's going on with Gilbert Arenas and television all the way around, but then football camps. We got our first football game tonight. Now, I'm not a big preseason guy, games. I mean, but it marks the fact that it's like, oh, check, here we go. Young players are going to get in the game, Hall of Fame game. We know what that means as far as those great players that are going to get their opportunity to be seen, meaning the former players who are Hall of Famers. And then that leads into you're not going to see a non-football week until really late middle of February. Do we get one maybe during the final week? I guess the week before the Super Bowl, but there's so much media there, the in between the championship game and the Super Bowl. It's football anyway. And this time of year is spectacular. Baseball, trade deadline, playoffs. People are pumped up about football, college football rolling. And there are some great questions and also some concerning stuff that we will get to when we talk about the college football. Concern things about where it's going. And I honestly, and Mark Schlereth on that, the college football, high school to college to pros, and what he thinks about the future of it. And a guy who broadcasts games on Fox as well, and has a radio show and a podcast. So we'll get Mark on here shortly, and look forward to having him on as well. And I know he's had his morning drive show as well. But this trade deadline, as we just talk a little bit more about that, it's interesting to me. And then there's the Carlos Correa talk with the Astros, that will he come back? And the layers to that trade, I don't know what the best way to, the layers to that trade of, he left and wanted 30 plus mil a year for what 8 to 10 years, didn't get it, goes to Minnesota. He's obviously a gold and platinum glove winner. The guy's phenomenal. Would play third base now because here in Houston, Paredes is out 5 to 7 months with a hamstring tear. This is not a strain. This is not a little pull. This is a tear. You're not going to see him till spring training. And he was playing great baseball. So Do you try to trade for Correa and get him in and bring the guy back that you didn't sign because of money in the first place? Yet you'll have him under control. You went and got Urias from Baltimore, who's a Gold Glove guy who can play third and second base. So you'd have that. And then when Paredes comes back next year, you have control over. Then you'd be forced with a decision. The great leadership by Correa, the guy who's been clutch in the postseason. He's beloved here in Houston. Yet, if you do get him, the key is always, what are you going to have to give up? Are you willing to trade a top prospect? And talk to Tim Kirkchins this morning on my local morning show, on my local morning drive show. And Tim said, he would not give up a top prospect for Carlos Correa at this stage, meaning, you're not giving away Cam Smith or one of those type of players to go to Minnesota. But if you can, the price is right. Also, the money situation, will the Twins be willing to pay some of that contract, that 30 plus million that Correa is going to make? But you do have him under control. And at 30, 31 years old, can he hold up? When moving off a shortstop, less demand because Pena's due back here, probably going to be in Boston with the Red Sox series against the Astros in Fenway this weekend. At least it appears that way. So do you jump in and go back and get him? If you can get him and Correa's 85% of what he was 4 years ago, you're getting a good player. But it's also his presence. And he loves Houston and all that. So that presence will be also a part of, having him if he is. But you start to see the $1 million left in his contract. Will the Twins, how bad they want to move it? He's got a no-trade clause, and he'd waive that. So think about this. And I'll back up here. I am, what's the word I'm looking for? Adamantly against giving baseball players, anybody for that matter, and NFL as well. I am against, and you can see the money he's got left. The Astros have asked the Twins to pay about $50 million of the remaining $102 million on the contract. I don't know if the Astros are going to do that. And if they do, that'll tell you they absolutely still love Correa and believe that he's a piece to get him over the hump, because they're also in the talks with Dylan, the Padres possibly about Dylan Cease. At least that's the talking points, and other pitchers out there that they need because of the injuries. But they're about to get Spencer Arrighetti back and Christian Javier. But back to this, the money and Carlos Correa. I hate giving players opt-outs, and I hate no trade clauses. Well, Sean, that's just not realistic. Screw realistic. I don't need to be under the metrics and the analytics stuff that says if you don't do that, you're going to lose them. Well, if I lose, it's like NIL now. If I lose a player because I didn't pay him more than the other guy that I was recruiting, or the guy who's been here a year and I lose him, I don't really want a part of my program anyway. Well, Sean, that's going to put your program in danger. Listen, if that's the character of a player, it ain't going to make my program better. I don't give a rat's ass if he's 5-star player or if he's worth it. He's worth what we determine he's worth if I bring him to school. Same thing here. When it comes to no trade, when Correa was in Houston and a World Series hero, postseason hero, played the heel when necessary during the 2017 stuff where they got in trouble, and he was a guy that was out in front of it all, and a clubhouse presence. He just is. He's been known for that. Matter of fact, when he left here to Minnesota and signed as a free agent, and obviously Scott Boras is his agent, so he always has his clients' money, best interest in mind, and he's a dominant agent. Well, when Correa left here, they wanted a long-term deal. He didn't get the 8 to 10 years from any of the 10 years from anybody, but he also left here, and a no-trade clause and opt-outs were part of what he wanted. They didn't give it to him. So I really don't care who the player, and I like Carlos Correa. It'd be great if he's healthy and ready to go. Of course, he's an upgrade here in Houston, but I'm just talking about anywhere. Now, look what the Twins have done to themselves. This is why I would say, well, Sean, if you don't give a guy an opt-out or you don't give him a no-trade clause, he won't sign with you. They're all replaceable. Maybe not the Ohtani cat, maybe not a healthy, a Scooble. There's only a handful of those sacred cows, in my opinion, that you're like, oh, replaceable? Listen, I just don't get, if I'm paying you $30 million a year, why do I got to give you also a no-trade clause and then you get to opt out? I'm not your damn bridge to come have a great season with me. And I'm not just talking to Craig. This is not, but he has that, which we'll get back to, that $102 million that they're still owed to him. Now, guess what? And yes, Isaiah, the trade deadline in baseball is by far the best. It's not close. But and it's like a pitch in between innings. We're waiting, guys on the mound, the drama buildup. It's the same thing with trade deadline we've been talking about for weeks. I can tell you this, though. Look what the Twins now have to do. They want to move him. One, you got to get his approval to wear. I'm not going. Now, if they tried to trade him to a place he did not want to go, a non-contender, a place that he didn't want to go, all Schlereth's got to do is say, I ain't going. Oh, okay, we owe you still $102 million. You stay in Minnesota, be with his teammates, and show up to the ballpark and post every day. And then there's that. And then if you had with the opt-out that these guys get a lot of times early in a contract, they want an 8-year with a first and second year opt-out, which is simply telling me if I go have a monster year, I am going to leave and go get paid $40 million a year for 8 years. There's very few. First of all, I ain't giving a 10-year contract to anybody. A 20-year-old that's going to be here for 15 years, fine, but you'll never get the value at the end of it. When I say never, rarely do you get value at the end of it. Why would I give somebody a 12-year contract? The 12, 13, 15 years for $750 million? They're never going to get the ROI on the Soto contract, as good as he is. Now, maybe we consider ROI if they win a World Series in the first 3 or 4 years of his deal, that then it was worth paying $750 million. Sure, I guess, because I like rings. You win 2 of them, hell, I guess it is worth it. I'm just talking about the on-the-field production. There's very rare cases where when a guy hits a certain age and you still owe him $75 million a year or whatever it is, you're not going to get the same production. So I'm against it. But this no trade stuff and this opt-out, why would I, if I wanted you and I paid you, feel obligated, or do you and your age say, yeah, you know what? After you go hit 320 and drive in 100 runs and hit 35 home runs, just go ahead and leave because we're not going to pay you anyway. So come and milk us. We'll use us as a bridge. And if we don't get if you get the World Series, it was worth it. But that doesn't happen very often either, where a guy comes over, gets all he wants, win a World Series, one of those storybook years. They happen, but it's not like they happen every day. And then all of a sudden he up and goes, well, I want to be there, but I'm $10 million more than they're offering. Then he goes somewhere else. You're not going to be my bridge. I'm not that bitch. I'm sorry. I'm just not doing it. I don't know why we think we have to. And I think it's kind of weak. You got your guaranteed $300 million, no matter who you are, or $500 million or $200 million or $140 million. I don't need to give you an opt-out. If I wanted an opt-out, I'd assign you to a 1-year deal. And then you could do whatever you want when free agency hits. 7-year deal, give me an opt-out. Get the hell out of here. Never going to happen. That's one. 2 is, why would I give you no trade clause? Because exactly 3 years Correa's been a Twin? And now look, this is year 4? And now in order for them to move him, they can't move him where they want to move him. They can't move him for the best deal. They got to move him, and everybody's going to ask, well, you're going to pay half that money? Apparently the Astros, according to Bob Nightingale, want to pay $50 million of it. Now think about that. You're going to get rid of a guy, trade for some prospects probably that aren't going to help you yet, or that maybe give you a future, but come cheaper, and not only come cheaper, but also maybe down the road you do it. And I think the Twins, aren't they trying to sell the franchise? So you're trying to get rid of some contracts so buyers, you want buyers beware both ways. So now that I've traded him or trying to get money now, I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there. So now he's there. He knows you were trying to move him and he's still getting paid. And yet you got nothing for him and he's still there. And so you're hosed all the way around. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, they tried to trade me. And I said, no. So there can't be anything but a little bit of, disdain that way. It's just normal human. I don't know how long it lasts. Maybe it doesn't fester, but you're both are a little irritated. Well, why wouldn't you waive it? Second of all, why did we give it to him? Third of all, if you're Carlos Correa, if I had a no trade, if you're dumb enough to give it to me, then I'm going to do it. And I'm going to go exactly where I want to go if they're interested in trading for me. I just don't get it. I don't get these professional GMs in football. I just signed Dak Prescott, or I just signed somebody to an 8-year, you're making $65 million a year. Oh yeah, we'll give you a no trade clause. No, screw you. If in year 2 I don't want it and somebody else wants you, I'm going to trade your ass. You don't get to approve it. I don't know why we think we owe the obligation to these players to tell us that, hey, guess what? I'm going to I'm going to let you decide where you want to go, and if not, we'll just keep you here. So that's the other part of this. And then you got to decide, was it worth parting with somebody? Am I giving away a prospect that 3 years from now is going to end up in 10 all-star games, and another guy's, he's going to be 34, 35. So that's when you're faced with Correa, you're facing a lot layers. And I know there's some Houston fans that are excited about it, excited at the possibility that what he's got game and moving him to third base, less punishment on his body because Pena is going to be the shortstop, obviously. I know that that's there, but think about it. An organization that's been steadfast in not overpaying for players. Ask Tucker, ask Bregman, ask Springer, overpaying. In their mind, what they would consider overpaying. And in truth, a lot of times it is overpaying. So they played smart, Jim Crane has, the owner. And then there's that. Then you got to go through trading him, which he would waive to go to Houston because, listen, even though he went to Minnesota and I'm sure likes it, I'll tell you that he loves that. He doesn't like Houston. He loves Houston. His wife's from here, the rest of it. He's still – a lot of times people, the regret of, oh, I left and went got paid, but you want to go back home. That second home is never quite the same as the first home, even if it's a vacation home. Yeah, it's great, but man, can't wait to get back to home. Same way in sports. And then you're going to have to give up prospects or something to get him, but the price tag's not going to be as rich as it would have been 2 years ago or 3 years ago. So that's the dilemma when you're trading for Carlos Correa, and Willie approved the trade. And yes, the Padres did give up a ton for Mason Miller, which tells you they want a back-end 104-mile-an-hour guy. Against Houston a couple nights ago or a week ago, he pumped it at like 104.3. It's stupid. Living at 102. So you get a guy who is dynamic and precise. But in the process, you may turn right around and give up a Dylan Cease, but also more prospects. And that's a team that wins. But you look around the league at some of these teams that are making moves, it's impressive. It's impressive. I love the trade deadline in baseball. I do. The other ones are so we can kind of call it. And baseball has player empowerment when you give them no trade clause and give them opt-outs. But at the trade deadline, the truth of the matter is, it's one of those sports where you don't get a lot of player empowerment. We love you. It's not personal, but we're moving you. And we won't close the door to you being a free agent 3 years from now and coming back. So baseball. And there's some good gets out there. And you're right. There's another Detroit. You can tell the Detroit Tigers, all they're missing now is Al Kaline, Chet Lemon, Cecil Fielder group to add to this staff with all what they got. Those Detroit teams that were old Tiger Stadium, and now but at Comerica, they're back. They're well managed by AJ Hinch, and they're hinching closer to a division title. Give them a hinch, they'll take a mile. But AJ Hinch kicking ass for them, and their pitching has been built, and they're getting some career years at the plate there. So it's going to be one hell of a run. And I asked Tim Kirkjian today, he said, the one thing, I said, the Astros a World Series team. And who is the favorite in the American League? He said, probably Detroit. And he named the reasons we just did, pitching, well-managed, all that. But he said, in truth, 5 or 6 teams can win it. And the problem is, I mean, in the American, it's deep when it comes to the depth of it, but there's no dominant team at the top. Yeah, you could throw in Kirk Gibson, Trammell, and Lou Whitaker as well, and Mark the Bird Fidges. The list goes on and on. Lance Parrish, might as well throw him in or go back way back to Bill Freehand's days in Detroit. But you know, Tim Kirkjian was saying that the American League is winnable by about 6 teams because there's no team that you go in saying, there's the fear that if they're healthy and playing there in baseball, they are going to win. Continuing to work on that. Triple E, make sure you hit Schlereth with one more message because I know he has got a lot going on, just if you can, and I will too, a little text reminding him or just to see where he is on this so we can get him in. And while we're waiting, I will tell you a little bit about my guys at Spindletap. Well, a lot about them. You guys know, whether it's the lager, the Diamonds in My Mouth, Tall Boy beer, the light beer. One of the great ones there, as you see, let me get a little close to you. That's the local Spindletap. There's far more than this. I just wouldn't have room on my desk for all of it. You got the Houston Hustle, which is a popular beer. You got the mocktails, which are 9 milligrams of Delta-9 THC, legal here. We'll deliver it to your front door. We will deliver it to your front door, 713-325-1477. It's Spindletap at spindletap.com. It's the best brewery here in Houston, and I don't think you can argue with me on that. Some may say different, but that's okay. That's where they need to get. Secondly, new beer garden out there where it's awesome. And they've added to already impressive facility with pickleball, which is so popular. Can you imagine pickleball, sun, and a beer? Not a bad day. Then pizza and the best ramen, brisket ramen in the history of this country is from Spindletap Brewery. And whether it's that or these mocktails, you know, I don't like to do painkillers, had a lot of surgeries. When Mark Schlereth comes on, he's had of 50 of them. And sometimes go to bed at night, shoulder hurts. So a little Delta 9 THC. I don't like to smoke. Bam, hit the sheets, wake up, no hangover, good to go. That's who SpindleTap is. SpindleTap.com is where you go. Facility's awesome. Best beer in the country. They got Mexican beer. They got them all. And you line them up. You'd want to test them all. And the facility's phenomenal. So grateful to be a part of their family. So grateful for their part of our family as well here on Unpaved. And grateful to be partnered with them for a long time to come. And SpindleTap Brewery, SpindleTap Beer, 713-325-1477. Call them, go on the end of the website, and get through there and get yourself set up for a delivery. Do yourself a favor and try the mocktails. I'm just telling you, if that's your game, you just want to relax watching your favorite movie, going watching Happy Gilmore, or sitting at home and saying, you know what, this is where I need to get a good night's rest tonight without worrying about a headache in the morning or without dealing with smoke or drugs. No, it's the mocktails, it's the beer, it's SpindleTap Brewery, 713-325-1477, SpindleTap.com. And my guy, Mark Schlereth, is always on time, and I know his schedule gets crazy. So we'll be a little patient with him. If not, we'll be a lot patient, but we'll redo him if in fact he's run into something that he can't get out of. And I fully understand, but it'll be awesome to have him on diving in, because there's a lot of things I want to dive into from the analytics of football since he was a player. Training camp. Did he like going to training camp? Now, linemen will always have a different approach than we as quarterbacks. They do a lot more than we do. It's the arm for us and the mind of, oh my gosh, I'm overloaded with all these formations and plays. Then getting to not only the mind, but it's the ability to make sure you understand the defense and everything else. For them, it's mental, physical, all those things where you're getting pounded around as a lineman. And I've said on this show before, many a time, finesse teams don't win championships. And I would imagine that Mark will validate that as a Pro Bowl player and having been around some really damn good offensive lines that, well, are wearing rings on their fingers, whether they're crooked or not, because, well, crooked fingers equal offensive lineman or quarterback hitting helmets. So we'll get Mark on, and if not, it's a great tease. If he's busy today, it's a great tease for tomorrow. We may actually get a bonus if Mark's on, where we can do Dibs, Rob Dibble and Mark Schlereth, not together, but two guests in the same show. It might work, but I understand what's going on because he's also in a baseball town in Colorado where his local show is and getting things done. And what's next for Mark? We'll discuss that as well. Guys, the NFL season and college football season is obviously upon us with the Hall of Fame game tonight. And I'm just kind of curious, and I've never – JB and I may have discussed this a little bit, but I'm also curious. You see Detroit and the Chargers, you're not going to see a lot of the starters play, but guys trying to, and real quick, don't ever take for granted. And I didn't, and a lot didn't. We all now, as former players or fans at home, like, well, my starters aren't playing. It's just preseason. It's not important. It doesn't count in the win-loss. It sure doesn't. But it is important because I can tell you what, having been one of those guys that wasn't a first-round pick, that always had hoped to be but wasn't, this is survival mode, especially if it's your first or second training camp and you haven't established that you're a veteran. Now the draft stuff doesn't matter. You're a veteran. They can count on you. You can last in the league 10 or 15 years. I was fortunate to be a part of that. But I can tell you this, training camp does matter. Try to tell the guy who's the sixth-round draft pick, who's got three linebackers in front of him or three guards in front of him, that you drafted because he was the best available on your board. You didn't really need him, but you thought maybe. And now every friggin' snap you take in the preseason is you have to make a play. You can't not, and especially mental mistakes. I can tell you the thing that's got guys in my career in the NFL, what eliminated guys quicker, faster, and kept them away longer than anything, their inability to grasp what they were trying to teach. Physically, listen, you ain't walking on a pro football field as an undrafted free agent or a draft pick without some skill set. You're just not. So when you get there, the guy next to you, and they're all Americans, they were all the best player in their town. But don't tell that sixth rounder that's battling and fighting and knows he's going to get some reps, but how many depends on how is he in the meeting room? Does the offensive line, linebacker coach, wide receiver coach trust him? How are you in our first drill when we go blitz pickup? Did you know who to block? Sometimes you're just going to get beat physically. Do you know who to block? Because the mental part of it gets you eliminated more than anything. You come in, a young guy, you can't keep up because we put 10 plays in, 5 formations, 5 coverages, 4 run plays on the first practice, and then we do it again in the afternoon practice. Then you got to go out and execute. You haven't even had time to go study it. And then you go back and watch it on tape, then talk about it, and then put more in. You're building a library in preseason. So the 6th rounder, you expect more from the first rounder, but you get less from the first rounder because he's not going to play that much. And you expect less from the 6th rounder because, well, he's a 6th rounder. That's why we drafted him. I don't know what I'm going to get out of him. Yet when he's in there, he has to give you more because he's not going to get the hall pass of being a first rounder that can screw up and make mental mistakes. Every first rounder on the planet can piss down his leg, crap his pants, not know how to spell his own name, can't get out of his own way and make mistakes. He's not getting cut. A 6th rounder, I could take court every single practice. I felt like I was playing in a game. Every single practice was a game. Matter of fact, even more. The game was easy in preseason. It was. The game's never easy, but it was easy at preseason. It came easier. Why? Practice, you're running routes. They see the same route combos a million times practicing against your own people. You go into a game and it's like, you're not game planning for me as the quarterback or Joe Montana as the quarterback in preseason. We just put our own stuff in and just try to go execute it. So right then and there, that dig route that was the deep 20-yard in cut that wasn't open in practice on day 3 because they see the route combos, seam, dig behind it, or running a dig, and we're running a post or a double post against cover, quarters, whatever it is. They see it. So they know, oh, that's one flat breaking out, curl, flat combo, all slant, all those things. You go play the game, and they're still thinking about their offense, adjusting, and those are much more open. So the games are pretty easy. It's the practice grind. That's how these guys are getting judged. So don't tell the guy who's going to play tonight. Right now, there's a 5th rounder, 6th rounder, free agent, a guy who's a bubble player or trying to impress tonight that in this Hall of Fame game that is going to be pissing all day and has to be prepared not to throw up in his mouth. I don't care if he played at Alabama, Southern Cal, or Slippery Rock. Those nerves will kick in. Why? And some of these guys played in much bigger stadiums than they're about to play in a preseason game or NFL game. But it's what it is now. It's the job. It's your livelihood. And nobody wants to be told at 21 or 22 years old, you're not good enough. I'm a journeyman already. That's why in practice, everyone matters. And then tonight's just validation. So those guys are waking up like it would be on a regular Saturday college game, nervous as hell. And you could be a 7-year veteran, but if you're a bubble player, this matters to you because you're going to play. So when we say, and I say it too, oh, man, I don't really much care about the preseason. It really doesn't matter. You're not keeping score. But then I take into account, and there's always a but for me because I was the but guy when I went in. Not but with 2 T's, the but with 1 T, meaning, Sean, you can't have 3 bad practices in a row. You won't get a 4th one. You can't have 2 bad practices, 2 good ones, 1 bad one, 1 good one, 2 bad ones, 1 good one. Why? You want good, consistent level because they're judging on everything. We only got 50 plus, guys, 53 of them. What am I going to do now? And, hey, you hear that it's a numbers game. The guy in front of you made less mental mistakes. You're both good players, less mental mistakes. Bam. And sometimes you go somewhere else and it clicks. It may not click. It may click there. So it really is for me. And I do it. So whenever I say it doesn't matter, I'm thinking about the guy. You're thinking about the first round pick that really doesn't matter, or the starting quarterback that's not going to play. The other part of it that gets me is for those guys that are fighting and scrambling for their very career. There's going to be some people that are going to get cut tonight. I mean, cut at the end of preseason. May choke tonight, may not, may play great, but some are going to get other chances. There's going to be some at the end of this summer camp are never going to play football again, and they're going to be in their early 20s. Or some are going to have played 6-7 years, but, man, making a little more than minimum. He's a backup. He's a special teamer. I like him, but do I love him? And you get cut, and now you're scrambling around 7 years in the league. You got to find something else to do, and you're 29. So reality hits. So when we say it doesn't matter, it does matter. Now, getting back to, the importance of, I was thinking about Cam Newton, and I think we discussed it a little bit, and I understand where guys coming from, and I just kind of get the comments and just something for you to mull over at home. Would you rather be the MVP of the league or win a Super Bowl? It's a fair question. And when it comes to the Hall of Fame, both matter. Cam Newton's not going to be a Hall of Famer, But when it comes to Hall of Fame, both matter. They're gonna put your resume up there, Pro Bowls, even though the Pro Bowl's been diminished over the years. And then the numbers, MVP, no wins in a Super Bowl. Been to one. Matt Ryan's going to face that. Phillip Rivers didn't get to a Super Bowl and didn't win an MVP. Matt Ryan did. Going to face it. But then longevity, all the criteria. But I've mulled it over. I'm trying to be fair to Cam. And I can't, I'll be honest with you, I can't fathom being an MVP being more important than I understand, but in my life, I can't fathom it. I can't fathom that wanting to be an MVP is more important to you
We're good, son.
than it is winning on a Super Bowl. And now I get to bring in my guy. Let's see, Mark, you got about 15 minutes where I can just give you a resume, because that's how long this is going to take getting through it. Here we go. Listen, the things I do know, what's that?
You're going to give me my resume. Let me just tell you what happened. You said 12:05 Central. I'm living between New York and Denver, and I happen to be in Denver right now. I was like, when you said 12:05, I was like, okay, 1 o'clock, 1:05. I got to be on Sean's show. And then I get this text message from you, and I'm not paying any attention. I was like, damn, oh, shoot, I'm on the wrong time zone. So I apologize for.
I just told him you were full of shit and we're late all the time. No, I said, I guarantee he's always on time. Something came up. And the first thing that came to my mind when I text you, I'll guarantee he doesn't realize what region he's in right now. And he'll join us if it's another day. And I completely get it, because I said, if there's somebody that's never late, to Mark Schlereth, 15 minutes early is 2 minutes late. So that's a good thing. Great to have him on. Well, let's go. He's 104.3 The Fan, which is an award-winning show in Denver. Morning Drive, been doing it forever. And when I say award-winning, it's serious. Pro Bowler, 3-time Super Bowl champion, longtime NFL player, a teammate of mine on the broadcast, which is I still will contend that I'll put our shows up against anybody on NFL Live forever, the
Amen.
best of times. So a great teammate there, has been doing games on Fox, has been doing NFL for a long time. Had his show, which would still be on, but don't count him out, Breakfast Ball on Fox FS1. So he's going through a little bit of a purgatory right now to find out what's next for him, which we've trust me, I know that when you get escorted to the door, trust me, for different reasons than Mark Schlereth. And I'm out of the photo business, but Mark's with us now. And not only that, a grandfather, a great dad, a great husband, and as good a person I know, and great teammate. And I could use one. You know how they go bring everybody back to ESPN, Mark, like the 25-year anniversary? Can they bring me, you, Malone, Wingo, and Golick back, and Haji, and we can just all go there and do a 2-hour show and be done? Oh. Just one more for the road would be great. But
one more, the last hurrah, right? That would be awesome.
Oh, it would be, and just, hey, peace out and let's go. But hell of a run, Mark. Good to have you on, brother. I'm so grateful you're here. Let me start there. Let's work backwards, because I always like to hit the good stuff first. But with you, it's recent. You did NFL Live and Sports Center, did all great studio host, great game host. But it's hard when somebody says, man, this has been, how many was it? A year, a little over a year, right? That this Breakfast Ball was going. How long was it on the air?
Exactly. 11 months.
Yeah, just under a year, right?
Yeah, just under a year.
Okay, so did you know it was? Tell me your feelings now. We're going to get to the million of good things, but you're in a place that you really haven't been in quite some time, because you went from ESPN to Fox, and you got, by the way, he's got his Stinking Truth podcast, which is one of the best podcasts in the country. And he lets it rip there because FCC get in the way of regular radio shows. So we get to cut it loose on these podcasts. So Mark, where are you at with your thoughts right now, Mark? I mean, you just got an apartment in New York. Tell me where you're at right now.
Yeah, ultimately, Sean, like, we're fine. Been in this business for a long time. You always understand when they're going to do, they're going to do what they're going to do. But, the powers that be, the guy who ran the show got himself in a little bit of trouble, got himself some hot water. So they essentially canceled the 3 shows he created and say, hey, let's move on from that. And so, the hard thing is all the behind the scenes people that work their asses off to make these things go, that are great kids, great people. Have one of our guys that's like early 30s, 31 years old. He and his wife just announced 2 weeks before they canceled the show that they were having a baby, and and you're so excited for him. And now all of a sudden he's looking for work at this pivotal time in his life. And so, 68 people, I believe, lost their jobs. And that's the tough thing. And that's, I called every one of them individually. and just thank them for working with me. And, I went from always being an analyst to being a host, which I had never done before. And it's a different animal. And, there's a transition period that took some time, but I thought our show was really clicking, really moving forward. I thought it was going to be a great football season. And, now I had a house on the market. It's all packed up here. So my wife is giving away most of our furniture. So we're sitting in the house in Colorado with like
I
absolutely
got
nothing.
space
All our
for you,
stuff,
brother. Come on.
right. All our stuff is in boxes. And now we just rented out our apartment. So I'm flying up to New York next week to pack up that stuff and ship it back to Denver, where, and like the whole thing is, like, if you didn't laugh about it, you'd cry, because it's just crazy. But all things considered, man, I still have the radio show, the podcast, as you mentioned, the Stinking Truth is growing. That's a lot of fun. I'm going to be able to focus a little bit more on that, and I'm still calling games for Fox on Sunday. So all things considered, it is what it is. We move on, but I appreciate you, man, and I'm with you. Those shows that we're a part of and ESPN's, to me, what I thought was the heyday where we were making television, where the NFL still hadn't exploded like it is now, where it wasn't. Remember, we came in, the first show you and I did together, as a matter of fact, was when we used to just do one show on
Yep.
Mondays, right? One show on Mondays in the off season. And you and I were together for the very first show I ever did.
Oh, I
And
remember it
I'll never
well.
forget it. We come in, you pick me up at the hotel, we roll in together, we do makeup, and we roll down to the Studio B, which was down in the basement. And I get plugged in and stuff. And Pam Ward was hosting the show. And so it's the first TV show I've ever been on. And I'll never forget getting plugged in. I think Stephanie Drewley was the producer at the time. And she said, "Hey, how you feeling?" I was like, "Great." And I didn't know anything about television. She goes, "Make sure you make your comments to camera one." I was like, "Where's camera one?" Like, "Oh, okay, I see it right there." And she goes, "5 seconds to live TV. Good luck. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1." And we're on NFL Live. And man, you were incredible, just an incredible teammate, but an incredible mentor in that business. You and Golick and Haji helped me along the way, and kind of teaching me the ropes and how to do it. So we'll be forever in your debt, man. I appreciate you so
Well,
much
look
and
what
love you
you've
so
done.
much,
Then you
brother.
go on. Did you go on and put up you're still in the middle of your phenomenal, in the prime of your career. And it's like, yeah, you help a guy along and he's kicking ass, but you've never forgot any of that. But also, you telling me that you called each one of your teammates individually, meaning your crew that we know at
Yeah,
ESPN, the camera person, the person who's sprinting up and down the hall to get a shot sheet for our highlight. They
yeah,
are what make that business go. They just are. And there's not 1 ounce of shock to me, Mark. And I mean this sincerely, as a friend, not as an ass kiss, that you do that, because that's been in your DNA forever.
yeah.
You've always been a giver, not a taker. I call them trucks, not trailers. You're always pulling people with you instead of
Mhm.
being pulled along. Even though early on we all need pulled along. So I appreciate that compliment. The fun, the laughs, the real
Yeah,
football talk. Which leads me to
yeah.
this, Mark. Which leads me to this. What bothers you as a fan? Take yourself away from what we do, watching TV, studio shows. And you're right about your show. I loved your show. It went on during our, but I'd be able to tape and I could watch it because I like you guys had football, you had laughs. I think it's about laughs and entertainment, but sticking to what we're doing, and you're great at it. And I think another year of it, and it would have been a household name every day that nobody would have, because we knew the people on there, and I thought you guys did a hell of a job. So with that, what bothers you when you turn on your TV? It doesn't have to be a specific network, but shows or what you're seeing. Let's just say a football show. What bothers you about the business now from when you came in?
A couple things. One, when I talk on television as authority, I talk as an authority because I've talked to coaches, I've studied the game tape, I've watched the game, and I'm not making some outrageous claim or statement based on being a shock jock or based on trying to get Twitter followers. I'm
Right.
doing it because I believe it and because I've witnessed it and I've watched it. And so I need to see it with my own eyes. And in television, so many times you haven't even seen it. You may have seen a highlight, but you haven't really watched or studied the game, and you're making outrageous statements just to get, just to get people to move on one side or the other. When I say something that it's based on something I've studied, something I've watched, something I've talked to people about, and something I believe in. And I think there's too little of that and too much of the shock jock aspect to what we do on television in general. The other thing is, um, the analytics and the statistics that people lean into, frankly, are bullshit. And like you can sit there and
You're talking
think
about
that,
looking at a piece of paper and here's how it's supposed to be instead of feel, and like we're seeing a lot
right.
in baseball, just numbers alone.
Yeah, just numbers alone, and air yards per target, and I was saying the other day, man, I got in a conversation with an analytics guy about going for two on every play, and you should every time you score, you should go for two. And Sean, you'll appreciate this. I said, so let me
Yeah,
ask you a
but he's from
question.
Yale or Harvard, Mark. You got to,
Right,
they're right.
right. So I asked him this. I go, how many 2-point conversions do you think we go into a game plan with? And he goes, I don't know. And I go, we go in usually with two plays, 2-point conversion plays. One we really like, one we kind of like. I go, how
You
many
hope you
times do you
don't
think
have
we?
to get to the second one, right, Mark?
Yeah. And then I said, how many do you think we actually practice? We practice it maybe one time during the week in t-shirts and hats on Friday. That's when we put it in. That's the
Drop
install.
Dick
So we haven't
Fridays.
had
Yeah.
one live rep on it, and we may have not gone for a 2-point conversion in 6 weeks. So I like the fact that you guys think that this is, and then the other thing is, okay, so if we go through a 2-point conversion and we don't like the other one we have, now we get into base offense or nickel or whatever down on the 3-yard line. Well, I'm always like, what do you think, what do you think happens there? The field gets restricted, so you're either going east-west reads or north-south reads, right? You're trying to put one player in conflict, make him play the low, throw the high. You don't have the separation. You're on the goal line, man. There's no separation. So a linebacker can sit right between the two and cover both guys, right? It's like for a quarterback, those windows become like tighter than mouse nuts. And
Right.
I'm like, and you guys just think that we've got a litany of plays that are good down there. We don't. And I go, so you comment on this shit like you know what you're talking about, and you have no life experience in any of it. You don't understand how hard it is, and that stuff drives me crazy. I had a team I was meeting with, and I was just asking them about the analytics department and how much they used them. And he goes, and the coach goes, offensive coach goes, well, listen, he goes, they came down the other day and said, hey, you guys right now over the last 4 weeks are averaging a yard per carry more on the left side than you are on the right side. So our recommendation is we should change up left to right runs. 70% of them, should go to the left and only 30% to the right. That was their recommendation. And the coach looked at him and goes, Aaron Donald plays on our left side. Get the fuck out of here.
That's the end of the analytics talk, right? I love your
Yeah, he's
master's
just
and your
like, he's
doctorate
like,
degree. I
get the
believe.
fuck out.
Yes. And you know what's crazy about that, Mark, too? It's like, oh, by the way, and you mentioned Aaron Donald. I'm glad you did. It's like, you do know that those other guys are getting paid too, that they're pretty. It's not, you don't just get
Right,
to waltz into the end zone on a 2-point conversion or the analytics part of it. It's actually pretty difficult to do. But the
right,
other side of it is the belief in, and you made such a great point about how it's compressed down at the end zone, and we can't throw a deep ball on the 4. All right.
right.
And then you haven't worked. If you're getting to the second and third 2-point conversion, we ain't worked on it. Some of them, not only just the one-time practice, some you may never get to. It's been in the library since training camp, and we're game planning for it, and we never get to it. And so we're going to
Right.
work on. Then everybody bitches. Well, what are you doing working on something you didn't practice, right? So
Yeah.
the execution of it is tough to do. But with that, the analytics part of it, I've tried to tell people all the time. I say, you make it seem like we don't know, not you, but like we don't know about the analytics. We call those tendencies in football. It's
Yeah.
called tape. A 3rd and 7 at the 25-yard line, when you cross the 30, they blitz 80% of the time. Well, guess what I better do as a coordinator? We already know that. So we do have analytics, but the truth of the matter is sometimes if I'm saying they 80% of the time they play man, but we are kicking their ass with Schlereth and Nayland, and we're wearing them out with TD, guess what I'm doing?
Yeah.
And they keep blitzing, and I'm going to keep doing what I do best. I'm not going to let them dictate the tempo. But the analytics and metrics of it, dude, are maddening. And then you'll say that, you know what they'll say, Mark, because you know exactly what you're talking about, but you'll get somebody, either a coach or a new school or somebody on Twitter say, well, what do you know? You play a guard.
Yeah.
I mean, my favorite is when you flash the
Right.
fingers on when you flash the rings on your crooked fingers, dude.
Right. Here's the other thing that happens too. And I talked to a couple coaches about this, and they're like, I understand analytics baseball, like pitcher versus hitter. That becomes a
Matchups.
one-on-one kind of matchup, right? But you got 11 guys. And like all 11 of us can be doing the wrong thing. If we're doing it together, usually you might have a pretty successful play. And then you can totally butcher blocking assignments, but the back can make a guy miss, and your alley player, the safety, can take a bad angle, and that thing can break out for 70 yards, and you didn't do anything right. And yet it was a big successful play. And ultimately the analytics will say, well, listen, you should run this play more often because look how good it is. You're like, no, we completely butchered it. Just they have 11 guys on the other side that butchered it worse than we butchered it.
Yeah, and that Phil safety. The next time he's going to knock your dick in the dirt. So we got a little lucky on this one. He's going to take a better angle. You're exactly right.
Exactly. So it's just an interesting game. And I always say this, and I mean it. The thing that I love about football, probably more than anything else, is the juxtaposition of complexity and simplicity. It's a really simple game, but we present it in a very complex matter. And, there's so many moving parts and so much teamwork. And I always say, like, from the receiver standpoint, 10 other guys have to do their job exceptionally well for you to sniff a football. So, like, all that stuff, I just find the complexity of it fascinating. And when it boil it down, if you control the line of scrimmage, you're going to win 80% of your games anyhow. It doesn't become, it's not that complicated. So it's just that to me is one of the funnest parts of just studying this game and learning about this game.
It was almost like we had talked beforehand and we scheduled what we were going to talk about, which, just so you know, Mark and I did not talk about what we were going to discuss, because it leads me to my next was going to be about the physicality and controlling the line of scrimmage. And and Mark Schlereth, radio host in Denver, award-winning, does his podcast, The Stinking Truth. Hell, it's from green chili all the way down. He's even been in the food business, has raised kids, grandkids, great family. You see him on he'll be calling games for Fox. He's 3-time Super Bowl champion, all those things, which doesn't even explain the half of what kind of person he is. Joins us here on Unpaved here on Rumble. Mark, you mentioned about controlling line of scrimmage. I preach it all the time. I can't win championships, in my opinion, playing finesse football. So I'll ask you as an offensive lineman, as I know you favor that position, but finesse football will get you to a point, but it can't get you over it. I still contend in the 2 Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl losses recently, they were dominated at the line of scrimmage. They still have good perimeter players. So you tell me, can you see in this spread out type of world we're in now with the passing analytics, can you win a national championship or a Super Bowl with a team that's finesse and kind of physical?
No, I don't believe so. I think you've got to be able, like I always say, you've got to be able to dictate in the running game when you have to dictate, right? When you get down to the red zone, like I always found it fascinating when offensive coordinators will tell me, hey, man, they were playing a lot of 8-man fronts, so we didn't want to bang our heads against the wall. We want to throw the ball. And I'm like, yeah, but when you get in the red zone, everything's an 8-man front or a 9-man front. The safety's got their heels at 8 yards because there is no deep threat. And so when you snap the ball, man, they're at the line of scrimmage. And so you better know how to run the ball against 8-man fronts. You better know how to be physically dominant. You better know how to do those things. So that's always one of those things. Like I believe that if you're a physical football team, you're going to win championships. And man, you're 100% right about Kansas City. Look what Philadelphia did. I mean, that game wasn't close. They absolutely thunderstruck them. The other thing I look at in the running game, I'm all about attempts. Like Saquon Barkley had a phenomenal 2,000-yard season in the Super Bowl, man. He averaged what, 2.5 yards a carry or something, but he had 26 attempts. And in today's game, like when I hear offensive coordinators say, hey, man, the bubble screen or the swing pass is just an extension of the run game, I'm like, bullshit. It's not, because it doesn't wear anybody out. And so, the game
you're still
today,
playing in space, right, Mark? You're
right?
Still playing in that space, right?
And in today's game, man, it's changed so much because In my time, it was about, hey man, we want 24, 25 attempts. Now they're like, hey, we want 24 touches. So, if we get 15 carries and we get 10 receptions, or 10 attempts at receptions, you get 8 of them. We're right in that realm. Well, it doesn't wear a defense down like running it between the tackles 25 times. That beats you up. And what it does for you to be able to be a great pass protector and be able to change up your sets. And now all of a sudden I could take a 5-step drop, like an all-go concept, all-go special concept, right? And a 5-step drop where I know the ball is going to be out quickly, man. I can go attack line of scrimmage. And I've attacked line of scrimmage in a 5-step drop where a defensive lineman said, you can't do that. And I just said, well, I just did. What do you mean I can't do that? Yeah, but that was a pass. Yeah, I know. I know. But I can change those things up. So you add tools to your tool belt, Sean, and like that's big time. Hey, listen, brother, man, I apologize for being late. Let's do it again soon, but I gotta roll. My wife is hitting me up right now.
No problem. One last thing, real quick.
Yeah.
Is NIL ruin college football?
I don't think it's ruined it yet, but it's gonna if they don't figure out some parameters. And I'm all for the kids getting money, but I'm also like, hey man, there's got to be, if you're gonna play a pro sport, there's got to be a contract involved. There's got to be maybe one free transfer after that. You got to commit to that university for a while so that we can watch you play, we can watch your career move forward.
We'll do it again, brother. Proud of you. Love you. And always great.
Love you too, man.
Tell your good wife I said hello in that family, and we'll do it again.
All right, Johnny. Take care, buddy.
Thanks. That's a great Mark Schlereth. Love him. And you know what? He's been in New York. He's been in Denver, where he lives. He's been in between. And when mama calls, you got to go. We'll get him on. But that's a good 25 minutes with one of the great people I know, and gives you an insight. And you'll want to listen to that if you missed any part of it. Rob Dibble will join us tomorrow. I'm going to make sure he gets the right time because he is on East Coast. But one of my favorite people in the world, Mark Schlereth. And there's so much more because he was the guy training camp that I want to at some point get to, pregame speeches, all those fun things. He's just a sweetheart of a man, but also one of the best family men and I think analysts and football guys I've been around. He can talk it. I'll tell you what would be cool. I could do an X's and O's show with him too on YouTube, and it would blow up using the telestrator on a big TV. You wouldn't want to miss that. So fortunate to have Mark on. We'll do it again tomorrow. Rob Dibble. He'll be here at 12:05 Central Time, 1:05 Eastern Time, and we will let it rip tomorrow. Another good teammate of mine at ESPN, but also one hell of a pitcher. To Mark Schlereth, thank you, brother. Love you. Always appreciate it. Triple E, thank you. JB will back on Monday, and we'll hit the ground running. Football starts tonight. Trade deadline ends at 6 o'clock Eastern. And we'll have a lot to talk about with Rob Dibble tomorrow. And again, special thanks to one of the best people I know and a hell of a football guy in person, Mark Schlereth. Tell your friends about it. They'll want to go there and check it out. We appreciate you, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.